today's, it's a topic that's pretty near and dear to me. It's all about women in the workplace, but not just, climbing the corporate ladder. It's more about, we've got some books that cover burnout, resilience, the emotional side of, working, and some of the fallacies of previous generations' idea of just grinding and climbing the corporate ladder and what that means. And I have a couple of selections, but Sam's got some awesome selections. And so we're just going to walk you through these books that really talk about how women can hold space in the workplace, how they can stay resilient, and also talk about why some of Sam's books, I think, speak to her generation and like a generation of readers and workers who maybe don't share some of the same kind of like corporate grinding attitudes of previous generations.
I feel like so many women in their 20s and 30s have entered a workforce that we were told would be totally different than the space that we're in. And these books have helped me engage with my life as a professional, and then also just like reprioritizing what matters to me in the time that I'm not working so that I can like bring my best self to the work that I'm doing.
I love that. That's, turns out that we're not all machines who can grind 80 hours a week.
Weird.
I know, weird, but now we're being replaced by robots who can. So it all works out. Yeah, stop taking our jobs, AI.
That'd be cool.
Do the dishes. Welcome back to Bookwise, a podcast from bookclub.com. I am Britt Brewer, and today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. Super excited about co-hosting with me. Her name is Samantha Dockser. Hi, Samantha.
Hi. Thank you for having me, Britt.
So, really excited to have Sam here today. She is an actor, content creator. She's huge on TikTok. She's really big on BookTok. And she's got 250 plus thousand. I don't even know because I'm not on TikTok, but it's a lot. Okay, everyone, it's a lot. And she's also got a really great newsletter where she recommends books that she's reading, and she keeps her readers up to date. It's called The Lately. And it's not just books. She's also talking about TV, pop culture. So, on that note, right out of the gate, there's a book that came out recently that you've been loving.
Yes.
And I would love to hear more about it. It's called The Age of Magical Overthinking, something I do on a regular basis, by Amanda Montell. So yeah, Sam, why are you loving this book?
So I am an overthinker. I am an anxious girly. I know lots of us are. And the cover of the book like jumped out to me right away. I have it right here.
Oh, that's a rad cover.
Right?
That is a rad cover.
But like the contents of the book is living up to how cool the cover is. And the first chapter is called Are You My Mother, Taylor Swift? A Note on the Halo Effect. And I'll just read a little bit from the jacket just so people have like an understanding of magical thinking can be broadly defined as the belief that one's internal thoughts can affect unrelated events in the external world. Think of the conviction that one can manifest their way out of poverty, stave off cancer with positive vibes, thwart the apocalypse by learning to can their own peaches. And in this book, Montell argues that in the modern information age, our brain's coping mechanisms have been overloaded and our irrationality is dialed up to an 11. So
wow.
Basically, each chapter of this book breaks down a different way that we engage with the world. Like I mentioned, the halo effect, proportionality bias, sunk cost fallacy, and then Amanda uses real world examples in her real life. For example, the sunk cost fallacy chapter, she talks about how like when you're in a bad relationship for many years and you stay in it because you've spent so much time with someone.
I know it well.
Same. We've too many of us have been there. But the Swiftie chapter in particular, like that being the first one, I think while I was reading it, I texted probably 10 friends who are all big fans of Taylor Swift to be like, we all need to read this. Everyone needs to read this book.
I don't want to put you on the spot, but what is the halo effect? I feel like I've heard it a million times, but I actually don't know what it means.
She does a much better job of explaining it than I will. But basically, it's like when you see a celebrity and you see one thing about them that's good, you basically assume that everything else about them is good. So like you like someone's music or you heard that they did like one charitable thing, you're much more likely to like perceive them as totally good. And then we put these celebrities, Taylor Swift as an example, on like this pedestal of not being human, or if they mess up, like if they do something that the Twitter X audience of the day like decides is no good, they're vilified. You get the idea. Like Taylor Swift with her jet emissions, people were like really mad at her for understandably
personally, like they're like injured personally. Yeah.
When she made she's not even the top 30 celebrities on that list currently. People have just decided like she is enemy number one there. But I'm not defending her. I don't think celebrities are above critique.
Right.
It is an example.
People.
They're people. And this chapter
the halo effect. Oh, we think that they're angels. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Now it makes sense. No, I think you did a great job. And I also think that, and we won't make this a Swiftie podcast, but one of the many genius things about Taylor Swift is the way that she writes her lyrics. They're written in such a way that you can, because a lot of them are narrative and story based, but she'll like switch pronouns or she'll make it so that it feels so universal and like you can project your own life into it. And I think that's why people almost have like sometimes like a parasocial relationship to Taylor Swift. Like they are so, and people from all stripes for all different reasons. Like I know people that are deep in the Gaylor, the whole Reddit thing.
Yeah, she mentions that in this book. If you are even a little bit interested in what Britt just said, is like a perfect book for you, because there's a scale and a scope of like how to engage in a healthy way with celebrities that we enjoy. And in this age of magical overthinking, it's become a little less healthy.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I think let's leave it at that teaser, but I am sold. I am reading the F out of that book. That sounds awesome. So I'm going to bring up a book. I'm not saying that it's amazing in any way, but I thought for this theme, it is definitely worth reading. And also, I think producer Mike knows is that I want to do a really bad Ariana Huffington impression or Uma Thurman as Ariana Huffington. But now I might have cold feet. We'll see.
I would like to hear it.
Well, it's kind of like, no, I can't. I end up sounding like.
Good. I mean, that was something.
It's something. That was something. As my old theater teacher used to say, you stood in that light. You stood in that light,
yes. Britt. I think Nasim Pedrad would do her on SNL. I think that's
for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. But essentially, this book is, we're going to have a sound up of Ariana on the Ellen show, but she opens with an anecdote.
In 2007, April 6, I came back from taking my daughter, who is in the audience, around colleges after 2 years of launching the Huffington Post. And I was exhausted, burnt out, the feeling that many of us have. I collapsed from exhaustion. On the way down, hit my head on my desk, broke my cheekbone, got 4 stitches on my right eye. And it started me on this journey of questioning what success is.
She realizes that maybe she's working too hard. Maybe she is. Yeah. That's sort of her, like, that was her rock bottom workaholic moment. And to be fair, I think she was like one of the first folks to start talking about like women in this space to say, hey, we can't just grind 24/7, and we do have to think about how to thrive and what resilience means. And she's such a like interesting character that you it's just interesting to read this person who has this outsized personality, but also she's a hitter. You know what I mean? Like not just the Huffington Post. She's had a lot of businesses. So I always, even if I'm a little bit eye roll about folks, I give them respect, not with the impressions that I'm doing, but I give other respect. So yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting, worthwhile read. And I would say do the audiobook because it's Ariana.
I absolutely love when the author, particularly like a voice we're very familiar with, narrates their audiobook.
I know, it's the best. It's the best. Okay. Next up, this is a pick from Sam. It is White Feminism by Koa Beck, a book that I read and loved. And we actually did a interview series with Koa Beck here at Book Club. So super excited to hear your thoughts and takes on this book.
I read it in 2021, so it has stayed with me for several years now. I do a lot in the like influencer content creator space. So the extended title of the book is White Feminism from Suffragettes to Influencers and Who They Leave Behind. And that title like grabbed me right away.
Yes.
But the book is so well structured. It gives examples throughout like US history of the ways in which white feminism basically upholds the patriarchy in a way where it's like only benefiting the singular, and the singular being white women versus the collective.
And also something that I would love to include before we hopped onto this, we were talking about this book, and you had an interesting thought about how this sort of smashes that idea of like the girl boss energy. So if you wanted to elaborate on that.
Yeah, just women my age in our 20s and early 30s, we entered the workforce in a time where like being a girl boss and slaying and like your whole identity being rising to the top of like the corporate ladder was like shoved down our throats in a way where it was like aesthetic to be the boss and to be a girl boss versus like a fully functional person with life outside of work. And girl boss energy is very much about like, I mentioned the individual, like personally rising to the top versus dismantling a system where it's like only one woman is allowed to be at the top and rising together. And White Feminism by Koa Beck does a great job of breaking all of that down. And one thing I also want to mention, which I just was like really enjoying the way she explained that white feminism also relies so heavily on the offloading of domestic labor onto like other women, usually of lower socioeconomic classes or more marginalized women. And it's something that like when we talk about women having it all, it's like we have it all at the expense of other women.
Yes. Somebody had to make that having it all happen. That's so true. Cause you know, I think what people don't understand is that for a Kim Kardashian, or even someone who's not quite a Kim Kardashian, but like a lot of people were employed to make that lifestyle happen. And it looks quote unquote easy, but it is not. And yeah, I think like so many sort of women, like your Margaret Thatchers who were female leaders, like they took that ladder and they took it with them, and it was just about them. And I think because they had been reared in this very patriarchal, like, you just gotta, win at all costs and, screw everybody else. And I think women's natural ability to, not to be overly gendered, but like to communicate and have a collective energy is usually, almost always, because teamwork makes the dream work, always a better situation than like one maniac making it hard for everyone. So
totally.
So next up for me is The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters by Priya Parker. Priya Parker, she is the founder of Thrive Labs, and she hosts New York Times podcast Together Apart, which is great. And she's a meetings facilitator. So she helps a whole wide swath of folks who are gathering, from executives to activists to educators, create transformative gatherings. But also the thing I really love about this book is that she just talks about she uses dinner parties as an example, but I think a lot of times, especially now that we're all a lot of us are meeting remotely, and those are can be the worst. But also we're kind of missing, like we went through this period because of the pandemic where we all got really socially awkward. And so now we're coming back and we're still sort of fumbling in the dark a little bit. And I love her advice for giving purpose to your gatherings and how to make sure that they're successful. And not in like I have a spreadsheet and we're going to, I'm going to micromanage everyone here. I think it's just more being super thoughtful about how you gather and how you meet, especially if it's professional, but even if you're having a dinner party, like, people's time is important. And I think the more we meet with purpose, I think the better, because we are very siloed right now. And I think we're seeing the ugly head of our siloness kind of rear its head these days. I don't know if you agree, Sam.
No, I completely agree. I have spent the last several years, because of the pandemic, like engaging mostly online in the book space. And I have in the last year started hosting monthly book clubs for my friends and basically any women in my life who are interested in meeting once a month to just like sit and discuss a book in person. And oftentimes the conversations veer way off from the book and are more about like our lives and where we're at. But I agree completely. Like there's something missing when we're not able to do that in person intentionally in a space together.
I find books to be such a great conduit to hearing people's personal stories and learning about people. Even if they're not, memoirs, it's just like you're hearing how people emotionally connect to a book. And this is like another tangent, but books to me, like they're the first thing that most of us interact with as little people. Like we read books, and so they have such an emotional resonance. And I think like being able to emotionally connect with people in person over books it's pretty magical. So, drum roll, please. Last but certainly not least, Sam, you're going to talk to us a book called "Buy Yourself we can say it, it's a podcast, The Fucking Lilies" by Tara Schuster. I haven't read this, but man, do I want to now. So yeah, take it away, Sam.
It ties into the idea that you were talking about it with burnout and basically we're more than our jobs. It makes me think of the Miley Cyrus song that we all obviously know, Flowers. I can buy myself flowers. I know that I, for so long, like tied my identity and my sense of self to my work as an actor. And if I wasn't auditioning or I wasn't booking, like I felt like I was less valuable. And I have done so much work over the pandemic helped because it was like we just stopped working for a minute as in the entertainment industry. But we are all so much more than our jobs. We are full people who are completely like wonderful and valuable, even if we never work in the way that we thought we would ever again. So I think this book is just like a beautiful reminder that to create rituals in your life that feel good and fulfill you.
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. And yes, we're so much more, something that I will say and I'm sorry if I sound like grandpa for the younger folks, but like, I think there was this idea for so long that you could only be one thing. And like, if you're not that one thing, then you're not successful. And what I love is so many people being multi-hyphenates and being like, no, I'm not one thing. I'm this, I'm that, I'm this, I'm that. And like, all of this is a narrative that is me. Like I am the narrative, and my sort of like, whether it's career, whether it's creative, whatever you're doing, like it can feel a little bit all over the place, but if it's you and it's stuff that you love and you're passionate about, like that is the through line. So anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent, but
no, I love that.
I find it really inspiring when people are doing multiple things and they're like not just hyper focused on one thing.
I do too. And I think it like makes every aspect of your life richer when you're more than just the one thing.
You're more than just the one thing. You heard it here, folks. You heard it here, folks. Yeah, I also just love this. Like talk about girl boss grind. Like she was grinding hard, and then she just grinded herself into, it sounds like a place where she just had to take a step back and think about her life and whether it was worth it to be grinding that hard. So I think that seems to be the theme of today's episode. No more of that girl boss grind.
No more of that girl boss. I'm trying to remember what is the new thing. It was like not gentle girl, soft girl. Like I feel like last year the internet was talking about soft girl. I don't know.
Was that with girl dinners? Was soft girl and girl dinners?
I don't know that they were necessarily connected. The girl everything is like, I don't know how I feel about it
Everything
at this point.
Like, the girl walk, the girl dinner. I'm like, isn't that just walking and eating? Like, what is this?
I'm a big fan of both things, walking and eating. And I guess, but I will say my favorite thing to eat is this is an iteration of, I guess, girl dinner is like at a movie like at Ripley. I had popcorn dinner, which is where I forget to eat before going to the movie and then just like shovel an entire bag of popcorn in my mouth over the girl dinner, popcorn dinner. But
I would also say that is like a very Shonda Rhimes show dinner. Like I feel like I
could see Kerry Washington on Scandal.
Yes. It was red wine and popcorn.
Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Actually, you know what? Now I'm going to think of that as Shonda Rhimes dinner.
Yeah, Shonda Rhimes. Yeah, let's.
We're rebranding.
We're rebranding. No more girl dinners. It's a Shonda dinner. Okay, well, listen, this was a fabulous conversation. I love chatting with you and talking with you about, these 5 books for women holding space in the workplace. We've got The Age of Magical Overthinking by Amanda Montell, Thrive, The Third Metric to Redefining Success and Creating a Life of Well-Being, Wisdom, and Wonder by Ariana Huffington, White Feminism by Koa Beck, The Art of Gathering, How We Meet and Why It Matters by Priya Parker, and last but certainly not least, Buy Yourself the Fucking Lilies by Tara Schuster. Again, I'm Britt Brewer, and I am been joined today by the amazing Samantha Dockser. Why don't you plug yourself a little bit more?
Oh, sure. Well, first off, thank you for having me. This was so lovely. But yeah, I'm on TikTok and Instagram it's Samantha Dockser. Okay. You can find my Substack newsletter called The Lately. You can also hear my voice on the Netflix show As the Crow Flies. It's a Turkish show where I dub the English for one of the leads, the character of Asli Tuna, and it's streaming now.
Awesome. Well, it has been amazing to talk with you about all these books. And everyone, thanks for listening. This has been Bookwise from bookclub.com. We'll see you next time.